All right, so I went ahead and put the slideshow presentation that we are going to be using in the chat for you. You can make a copy of these slides and keep them in your own Google Drive and refer back to them anytime you need. Okay. So I'm going to introduce myself and my fabulous co-host. So I am Audrey Kukrofka. I teach 4th grade virtually B-Track for Rosa Parks. And yeah, so.
And welcome.
Yes.
And I'm Amy Sanchez. I'm so happy to see a couple of friendly faces in here who we have struggled through these trainings together. So welcome to adding headers and taking over the calendar all by yourself. That's my favorite part of this training, is not being a slave anymore to the Edgenuity calendar. So welcome aboard. I am 2nd grade stationed at Riverview. However, I do have 4 different sites.
Yes, so I'm stationed at McKinley, but with all this craziness, my kids are from Rosa Parks. So I teach from McKinley, but I service students at Parks. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen, and we're just going to kind of walk through this presentation, and I am going to go live during certain sections instead of just making you watch the video, because that would be awful. Okay. So, hi, there we go. So welcome to Edgenuity K-5 Basics. In this presentation, we're going to talk quickly about navigating Buzz, just kind of learning where things are. We're going to spend a good chunk of our time on talking about agendas and landing pages and getting, well, not getting rid of the calendar, but freeing yourself from the calendar. And then we're going to talk about the course editor. I'm not going to go into too much detail about the course editor here, because that is what we cover in our second part to this, accommodations and meeting the needs of our students. But I am going to show you how to hide modules, how to rearrange modules, do that sort of thing. And then we will briefly talk about needs grading and just kind of what those 3 panels mean. And then an overview of submitting work. And on that slide in the presentation, if you skip ahead, there are 4 videos that are there for you to share with your families on different ways to submit their work. So there's one on using Adobe. I think there's one on using Cami. And then we also have using a Mac to take pictures and using a Chromebook to take pictures. So there are some good videos there for you to share. And then the final page of this presentation of this slide deck is extra resources. And it is a link to the district website where all of the videos that I have ever made are housed, as well as other resources for you to use. So we have lots of fabulous teachers on our virtual team, and as they create things and they send them to Michael, he puts them onto the webpage for all of us to benefit from. Okay. So let's start with navigating Buzz. Navigating Buzz. I need to get rid of that box. So many of you are familiar with your teacher app page, and I call it the teacher app page simply because you'll notice up in the left-hand corner, it's called the teacher app. And this is also referred to as Buzz. And this is what I call Buzz for my students, and it's our learning management system. So it's where everything is housed, where all of your course tiles are, everything. And there are lots of great features on this page that sometimes get lost in the mix. So I first want to point out your menu tool. And your menu tool is going to open up a lot of things like a people tab, a gradebook tab, all of your courses, again, communications. So you've got lots of things in your menu. And then down in the pink, we have our course specific tools, and I use these on a daily basis. I am using specifically this edit tool so that I can edit assignments that are in this course. And I am viewing my gradebook here so that I can see my students' progress and see how they're doing. So that's our course specific tools down there. And then I just want to bring your attention to the needs grading tab in yellow. I'm sure that you have a red bubble there that has many numbers in it. Mine does, but that's our needs grading tab. Announcements. If you haven't played around with announcements before, they're pretty cool. It's like a blast that you send out to your students, and it notifies them with a little yellow circle on their page to say like, hey, read me. And it's quick for just kind of sending out a quick note like, hey, remember to do this. And then you have your manage courses button. And if you are the lucky winner of multiple PE or art tiles that you no longer use, you can hide them in your manage courses button. So that's where you can go and kind of clear up your teacher app page, and you can just, nope, I'm going to hide them. And then finally, you have your settings. And I like to point this one out because that's how I got my little Bitmoji up there. You can change your profile picture. And if you are still receiving emails for every time your students turn something in or get feedback on something, when you go into settings, you can clear that out and stop getting those emails. And I'm going to skip over this one really quick. So what I've done is in the presentation that I gave you, there are 3 videos on how to manage your courses. So if you want to hide those tiles, there's a video on how to do that. There's a video on how to change your profile picture and turn off notifications. And there's a video on how to create announcements. And we just don't have enough time in this presentation to go over those things live. So they are there for you to view on your own if you want to learn how to do those things. And then this is just kind of a quick overview of when you do open that menu, the things that you see here. So your needs grading, communication is the same thing as announcements. You have people, which we will talk about when we do our grading training, to be determined on when those are going to come out. But people is a great function to kind of see your students' progress, especially for our teachers who have more than one school site. You can see all of your students in the people tab. So check that out on your own time. And then your course list, of course, it gives you a list of all your courses. Okay, so now that you are familiar with your buzz, let's talk about landing pages and kind of not using your calendar. That's in Edgenuity because it has issues. And so, yeah. So the purpose of creating a landing page and clearing your calendar is so that you can now decide what your students are working on in Edgenuity, and so that you can give your students a clear picture of what they need to do. So right now, you don't have access to a calendar, but your students do. And if you have not unchecked continuous course, that calendar has links to assignments. It has links to quizzes, and they may not be what you were working on, and they may not align to how you were pacing things out. So it's really beneficial to uncheck, and I'm going to show you how to do that, to uncheck that so that you can now determine how your students are working. And we replace the calendar feature in Edgenuity with a landing page. And so I will show you what that means. But if at any point you feel like you're lost in this presentation, there is a video here that you can pause, and it shows you exactly how to add a landing page. And then this is going to show you like what your students see. And then when I go over clearing your calendar, there's another video that you can watch on how to do that as well. But I'm going to do all of these things live. So let's get started. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing because I just realized I haven't even opened up my Edgenuity on this computer. So Amy, any comments on clearing the calendar and landing pages?
Absolutely. So let's see if I still have share screen ability. I do. Okay, so I'm going to take you into my Edgenuity. And I'll just show you, I'll give you a couple examples. Some of you have already seen this because you went to basics too, but quickly for those of you who haven't, when the landing page is really powerful because once you get rid of the calendar, as Audrey's going to show you, you won't have those kids and parents freaking out because they've got lots of red because they're behind. Because we know that the kids are not behind. We are the teachers, we're setting the schedule. Unfortunately, Edgenuity does not know that. So she's going to show you in just a minute how to turn off all of that stuff. And then at that point, we become the guide for our own children's education. So Audrey's going to show you a really cool landing page for big kids, which will show them their whole schedule for the week. They can even print it out, which is a handy function as well. For the littlers, on my landing pages, I just put what they're doing for that week. And so each of my different courses, this is reading, it'll tell them, okay, here's the dates for this week. Here's what teacher wants you to do. So for this week, they're doing Module 4, Fall Fun. Now my kids, when they go in and they're on their own pages with their tiles, their to-do list is now not populated because I have not assigned dates to any of this Module 4 work. So they've got all their work in here to do, but it's not assigned to a date. So their to-do list is going to be empty. All that they need to do is follow what I set up here, and they know their work for the whole week. And my class my parents have been very appreciative of not having the schedule rigidly laid out. So you'll notice I don't even do daily. Audrey and hers, she'll see that she does day by day their assignments. I say our week starts on Monday morning and it ends on Sunday at 7 p.m. Get this stuff done someplace in that time, somehow make it happen. So that works very nicely with my group. It might not work well with your group. And the great thing about this is we now have the educational flexibility to do what works for our own classroom. So I am going to stop share, and Audrey's going to show you how to work that magic.
So I am
48 needs grading.
I know, 48. It was like 100 and something the other day, okay? And I know some of our teachers who have multiple school sites, and I only have 23 students. Some of you have like 35 and 4 schools. And so your needs grading is just crazy.
Bless us one and all.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So what I'm going to teach you how to do first is to add a landing page. And I want to do that because it's kind of easy to walk into adding a landing page and not fully commit to kind of messing with the structural integrity of the Edgenuity program by clicking unchecking continuous course. Some of us aren't quite ready to make that jump yet, but we can all add a landing page. So like Amy showed you what her students see, if my students click on their landing page in their course, so this is my language arts course, remember I teach 4th, they just see a link to our weekly planner. I don't have the fun stuff on mine that Amy does, but I could. So when my students click on weekly planner, it brings up a Google document for them. And because I'm signed into my Corona Norco account, it's going to bring it up in edit mode. But when my students click on that link, it brings it up in view only mode. So they're only able to view this and they can't make any changes to it. And you'll notice that I have it here, week of September 14th through 18th. And then I have everything laid out. This is what you do on Monday. This is what you do on Tuesday. Okay. I can write little notes in here for them. And in view only mode, my students do have the option to print this. And I've actually, if you go down to page 2, I have it in black and white so that it's easier for them to print if they are printing this. So I link to this in my Edgenuity course, and I put this same link to my planner on my math tile, my science tile, and my social studies tile, so that my students can't come to me and say, well, Miss L, I didn't see the agenda. I said, well, did you open up your course tile? Yeah, then you saw the agenda. Yeah, okay.
Now, Audrey, can I tell them why you are so much smarter than me? This is my favorite part. Okay, Audrey's so much smarter than me because just like anything else inside of your Google Drive, you can update it and the updates are live and they are saved automatically. Oh my God, I'm distracted by baby. I'm sorry. That is, your baby is so cute.
It must be Meg.
Oh, it's Meg, a little baby. This is getting recorded, Sanchez. Back on track. The great thing is, when she changes that inside of her Google Drive, it magically updates in Edgenuity as well. So she only has to put that landing page in, and then every update that she does within her drive automatically pushes to Edgenuity. Versus mine, because I do each tile separately and it's not linked into my Google Drive, I have to update my tiles every week. So if you're looking for the easier and smarter way to do it, by all means, use a document or a slide like Audrey is, because it really is a great time saver. In fact, you don't even really have to put the date on there. If you just put link to agenda, you would never have to touch that landing page in Edgenuity again. You could do all of your updates right within your Google Drive.
Yeah, so like here, I just say click here for weekly planner. And what I would do is I would just pull up this agenda and I would just empty it out and make it for next week. And this link is still going to link me to this page, which is now updated for next week. Now, I like to keep copies of my agendas so I know what happened in the past. So all I would do was just make a copy. And here's a copy of my week 9, 14 through 18 agenda. I'm going to press OK. It's going to save it. And now I can clear this one out and make it week of September 21st through 24th. And I don't even have to touch this link. It is already updated because I updated the agenda in my Google Drive. And here's my copy of it so that I know what I did the 14th through the 18th. And it saves. And you'll see, if I open up my drive, you'll see that that's exactly what I do. Here's my 8:31 through 9:4, 9:7 through 9:11. Here's my copy. I don't want it quite yet. So you'll notice that I have previous copies, but I don't have to update this link. Once I did it, it's a one and done. Okay, so how do I get this fabulous link onto this page? I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna start on my tile. So you will have to do this for every course tile that you have. So if I want to add an agenda to my language arts course, I'm just gonna click on my course tile and I'm going to click on this edit button. And that is going to bring up.
The very first time they do this, are they gonna have that edit pencil right there?
No, so actually let me go back and let me show you in what I like to call my playground. This is my old PE course that I gutted and took everything out of it and made it just for this. So the first time that you add a landing page, you are not going to see that pencil. You are going to see this beautiful blue writing that says add landing page content. You're going to click on it and it is going to bring up what is called a rich text editor where you can type. But you can also do other things. You can add a link, you can add a drawing, a picture, a YouTube video, or you can embed content like Google Slides. So I want to add a link to a Google document here so that my students can see my agenda. Now, note, you can embed Google documents as well, but because the landing page is narrow, your students can only see portions of your document. So it's best to link to documents and embed slides. Okay, so how do I link? first you need to start with the agenda, with the document that you would like to put into Edgenuity. And so here I have my agenda. It's ready to go. I need to share before I put into my landing page. So when I'm on my document, I'm going to click the share button. And the first time that you do this, you need to get a link, but you need to make sure that it is set to anyone with a link. Because the first time you do this, it's going to be restricted and you are going to have to manually change it.
And not only that, it's not just restricted the first time you do this document. The first time you share any document, the default is restricted. So anytime you want to put something on Edgenuity, or even if you have great slides you want to share with a fellow teacher, you've got to go in there and change it to anyone with a link. Otherwise, you're going to get all of those emails that are asking you for permission to open it.
Yeah. And the reason why I go with anyone with a link over Chrononorco Unified is because not all of our students are logged in to Google Chrome using their CNUSD account. And I know that they are supposed to be, but no matter how hard we try, there will always be that one student who just is not. And so to avoid any issues, anyone with the link. You also want to make sure, and this is the default setting, it is default set to viewer. You just want to double check that they're viewers, not editors, okay? And just a cursory check. Otherwise, they're going to be able to edit your document, and you don't want them to do that. You want them to only be able to view it. So now that I have changed, I went to share, I clicked on the get link area, I changed it from restricted to anyone with the link. Now I'm going to copy this link. And I'm going to take that copied link back into Edgenuity to my landing page. And I'm going to go up to the insert link buttons like that, those two really kind of funny looking parentheses with the dash in the middle. And I'm going to paste my URL. And I don't want my students to see this big long link, so I'm going to add text. And what I like to do, like you saw, is I put in all caps, click here for weekly planner. But you could put whatever you want. And then you want to make sure that it's opening in a new tab and insert. And there we go. I've inserted my link onto my landing page for my students to grab. And if I select this text, I can change the font, I can change the size, I can change where it's aligned, I could highlight it, put a background color. It's a horrible color for background color, yellow, there we go. So I can do a little bit of editing here, and then I'm gonna click save. And that has put this link big, bright, bold for my students to see when they click on that course tile.
And you'll notice now that pencil is there. It's only the very first time you're going to see that add content. After that, your pencil is going to take you back into that rich text again. You just delete whatever you don't want, add in whatever your new things are.
Yep. So I just highlighted and deleted. Okay. So now let's talk about Google Slides. So maybe, well, we'll do an old one, okay? Maybe you are using Google Slides to do your agenda instead, like I was at the beginning. I changed my mind, I liked Docs better. But when I first started doing this, I was using Google Slides and I was making them daily. So this is Monday's assignments, Tuesdays, Wednesday, so on and so forth. And you want to put these into Edgenuity. You can do that as well, but how you do it is a little different. You will still need to open up these slides and you still will need to change the share setting. So I'm going to go up to that share button. I'm going to click down here where it says get link. And I'm going to change it from restricted to anyone with the link. And I want to make sure that they're a viewer. Okay. Now, because we're embedding, I don't need to copy my link. I'm done. Once I've changed the share settings to anyone with the link, I'm done. And I'm going to go back into Edgenuity. And this time, instead of clicking insert link, I'm going to go up to that page that has the greater than, less than, and slash. That's my embed content. And when I open up this page, I am going to choose a Google document. And I know that we're embedding slides, but in Edgenuity, docs, slides, and forms are all documents. So I'm going to choose Google Document, And what this is going to do is it is going to open up a very clunky version of my Google Drive. All of my folders and all of the folders within my folders are now open. And I don't want to search through this. So I'm going to use the search bar and I'm going to type in what I titled these slides. There we go. Find it. And there we go. There is my document. I'm done. I'm going to go down and I'm going to embed. And there are my slides. And you'll notice that this is a slideshow. So now if I click save, this is what my students see on their landing page. So they see these slides. They cannot mess with anything on the slides, but they can click through them. So this is a presentation. And if I had any links, do I have a link on any of these? No, okay. If I had, I do. If I had a link, they can click on it. They can interact with this. So they can click, this is back when we were doing PE, they can click on any links that you have in here. They can make this full screen in case they have trouble seeing. And they can even print. If they go to the settings more, they can print, they can download it. So this is a great option slide-wise to work on this. And again, just like Amy was saying with the docs, once I have these slides in here, I don't have to ever change this link again. I would just open up my slides and let's say that it's a new week. I can just delete this and type my new language arts assignments, change the date, like I'll show you. So it's the 20th test. Okay, so I've just updated this slide. I'm gonna go back into my, back into my test course. Monday, I'm gonna refresh my page so that it recognizes. Here we go. You'll notice that what I just edited on my slides is reflected right here. I changed the date, I got rid of that assignment, and I put it in. So once you've embedded these slides, you just go back to those slides again and update them. And again, just like I did with the document, if you want a copy of your previous weeks, just file, make a copy of your entire presentation, and it will save your old week's agendas. Now, if for some reason you want to delete these slides, you're gonna go into your course editor, and it's a little bit harder to like figure out where to delete slides, but if you just click like down in the bottom, I don't know if you can see my cursor over here, just click kind of off to the side and then delete and then save.
Can I borrow the screen for 1 second,
Yes.
Audrey? All right, so I wanted to show you, these headers are really fun. They're not just for agendas. So you can see I've got agenda stuff up here, but this is a great place to put your spelling words for the week. If you have the littles, you may have noticed that Edgenuity really jumps around with the spelling words. And like one day they're practicing some, one another. This gives them a place where they can actually have them front and center for the week. This is a slide I like to back when we're doing Zoom. I like to Zoom from a classroom. And then of course, because I don't do things easy, I like things cute, I will make it, this week's module 4 in 2nd grade is called Fall Fun. So this week we're Zooming from a fall room. We will do that, you know, every week. The room will kind of change. But the cool thing is the kids, they can make this big and then they have access. This is a kid copy, so they cannot mess around with my real Zoom room. But then they can go in, the books are clickable. This has little links to arts and crafts. So it's a good way for them to have some more content as well that kind of has to do with what we're doing for the week. So your header doesn't have to just be that kind of information. Mm-hmm. Find a math one.
kid friendly where they can play around with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So this one for math, it still tells them this is what we're working on this week, but I just put a little game on the top for them to play with their parents so they can play through a game before they start working. So the header can be just a nice friendly way for them to start their day before they get into the sometimes overwhelming Edgenuity that they have to do. So all of these things, you can even embed videos up here. So if you have a video that you want them to watch, that's going to go for the week, and you know, we talked about the fact that you can embed videos within your modules as well. So this is a video that's going to be for next week for 4.2, but you can put them up here in your header as well, and then they're big and beautiful. Yeah. So all of those are just great other things that you can do within this header space.
So Amy, real quick, so that's a Google slide, and so when you were going to share it, you clicked on, instead of viewer only, you clicked on editor. Is that what you did?
No, you want to keep it in view.
You still want to keep it in view, but they can interact with it?
If you have a link, yes. They won't be able to move things around, but if you have hyperlinked something, like Amy's hyperlinked books to it or videos, they'll be able to click on those links or the picture that you have the link on.
Okay, so just the links. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, Grace, you can do that, and I will briefly talk about that, but that is embedding, supplementing is in our accommodations and meeting the needs of our students, our second presentation. We have 2 next week. Just Amy and I have to get together and figure out what dates they're going to be on next week. So yeah. Okay. So now that you have this fabulous agenda in your course, how do you clear out your calendar? How do you keep your kids from going back to their calendar or back to their to-do list and doing things that they shouldn't be doing? There's an easy fix for that. So unfortunately, you have noticed that we no longer have our calendar, so I can't show you what that looks like. But your students, our students still have access to a calendar and a to-do list. And if you have not unchecked continuous course, Edgenuity is populating that calendar and to-do list with assignments. And they may not be where you are. So we can clear that. And to do that, I'm going to go back to my teacher app page. You will have to, again, do this for each tile that you have, but it is a one-time only thing. So to clear your calendar, and what it is doing is it's just taking all of those assignments and quizzes in Edgenuity, and it's just unmarking due date. It's just removing the due dates from them so that now your students can follow your agenda. To get there, to do that, on the course tile that you want to edit, you're going to open up the course editor, which is the pencil button, and you'll notice that each of my courses has one. So this is the course editor for my language arts. Open that. And from here, you're going to go up to the wrench, the tool, the wrench, and then course settings. And you will notice that my box is already unchecked because I gave this up a long time ago. You are going to uncheck, this is a continuous course.
If you haven't done anything with your calendar yet, when you open your wrench up, you will see that that has a check mark.
It has a check mark like this.
Just like that.
Yeah. And you want to uncheck it. And that is going to simply clear out your students' calendar and clear out their to-do list. So they will no longer have assignments in, because this is just language arts, they'll no longer have language arts assignments to do. And then you'll go into math and you'll uncheck that one and it'll clear out all their math. And you'll go to science and social studies. And it eventually, once you do this for all of your courses, there will be no due dates assigned to any of the work in Edgenuity so that they are forced to follow your agenda. So once you uncheck that box, you'll click save. But since we're in here, I do want to note that if you want to change the color of your course, this is where you do it as well. So you can change the color of your courses here. You can even change your own pictures. You can upload your own picture image to put here if you want to get fancy. And you can change the name. So you can edit this. If you have multiple schools, you can change the name here, color, but you want to uncheck continuous course. And that is how you free yourself from the calendar.
The bondage of Edgenuity.
Yes, the bondage of Edgenuity. And like I said, you do have to do this for each course. So again, I would go to math, my course editor, tools, course settings, uncheck, this is a continuous course, save. Okay. And I would continue to do that for all of the titles that I have because I don't want my kids to see their calendar. If you get super fancy, you can reschedule due dates, but that's neither here nor there. But unchecking will clear out their calendar so they have to follow your agenda. Okay. Now let's talk about that course editor. What can we do there? So I'm in a live class, so I don't want to edit things that my kids are working on. So I'm going to open up my play course. So on that course tile, the course editor button is where all of the magic happens. This is where you can hide modules. You can hide items within a module, or you can edit items within a module, or you can add things to a module. So I'm just going to show you how to hide things. You'll notice that in this course, everything is hidden. So if I don't want my students to see a module or a folder, so like this resources one, I'm just going to click on the eye until there's that red dash through it. So this means that it is hidden from my students and they cannot see it. If I want it to be visible, that is what the gray eye is. So now this is visible to my students. And if I open it, everything that has a gray eye is what my students can see. So my students can now see the resources folder, but they can't see this getting started course resources because I have it hidden. But they can see this buzz how-tos because it's visible. And you can change this. If you want everything in this folder visible, just click on those eyes and that unhides them and hides them. So that is a great option, especially, let me go into, oh gosh, let's go into language arts. Especially if you do not want your students working ahead. So you'll notice here in my language arts, I only have module 1, 2, and 3 visible. I've hidden 4, 5, 6 because I don't want my kids to see it. And I didn't have to hide everything in that folder, in that module. Once I've hidden the module, it automatically hides everything that's in it. So I didn't have to open this up. I didn't have to go into each of these subfolders and hide all of these assignments. Once I hid the module from my kids, it hid everything in it. And so now I can open it up when we're going to work on it. And I have no idea why it has those dates. Oh, I edited those in the last one. So if you would like to edit the title of a module, that's in your course editor button. We're getting a little fancy here. But you can change what these modules are called if you want to. So like I did, you could put a date here, module 4. You need to complete this, the week of 9/21 through 9/24. And then you would save. And it's going to update what your kids can see. So now they would see module 4, 9/21 to 9/24. It's an extra step. You don't have to do it, but you do have the option. Now, you also have the option. I'm going to go back to my test course. Because I don't want to move things around. You can also move modules around. So if you don't like the order that they're in, you can click and drag modules wherever you want them to be. So maybe I want this module, this Khan Academy folder, to be at the top so that when my students click on their course, it's the first or one of the first folders that they see. Inside folders, let me find one that has stuff in it. inside folders, you can even move stuff around here too. So if you want this lesson to come before another one, you can click and drag and rearrange the lessons as well.
Now, Audrey, can I jump in though and
Yes.
give you a warning, because I thought I was going to be so smart, and I aligned all my science so it actually made sense, and I spent an afternoon dragging, and it was so good. And then I realized they got all those handouts from the district in the order
Yes.
that Edgenuity has them. So you have to be sure you're really committed to this, because you are going to have to let your kids know, if you're using the paper in any of these modules, that the papers are going to go in the order and have the copies that Edgenuity set up, because that's how the district made them. Yeah. So what I will do in the future is, now once we come up at the end of October, I will go back then, and after trimester 1 is over, I can reorder then, and then I'll just make the copies myself in the order that I want them, and that will take care of that problem. But for right now, I did realize I had a technical error, because my kids were going to get super confused if I put module 18 after module 5, because they're in the habit now that the papers are going to go in order. So something to think about before you spend 4 hours making it really great.
Yes. And especially for our littles. For our bigger kids, my kids know that they just match the title of the paper, and they just flip through their packet and find the same title. But I have 4th graders, so
show off.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So that is how to kind of move things around. Now, I'm not going to go too much into adding things into Edgenuity, because that kind of steps on the toes of our next session. But if you want to add your own supplemental material in, you can do that by selecting whatever module you want this work to go in, and then clicking the Add Activity button. And you'll have lots of different options, and Amy and I talk about this in the accommodations and meeting the needs of our students, adding supplemental materials. But you can play around with this. Go down to that module 6 or that module 18 and hide it from your kids so that they can't see it, and just play around a little bit. Because whatever you create, like if I had this test module, if I created this folder and I don't want it anymore, I can go to those 3 dots and delete, and it gets rid of it. And if I accidentally delete something that I didn't mean to, I can get it back. Nothing in Edgenuity is gone forever. So if I'm like,
as is evidenced by the art tiles that keep coming back and coming back and coming back. Yeah.
Yes. So if I want to get that test module back that I just deleted, I'm going to go up to that wrench again, and I'm going to go down to my recycle bin, and here it is. I'm going to click on it, restore, and it's going to put it back exactly where it was. So nothing is ever gone forever in Edgenuity.
Now, Audrey, you have a question in the chat from Grace. She says, is there a way to change must complete this assignment before moving on for all modules rather than one by one?
No.
And my understanding, Mike, you can jump in on this, is that was part of an error that was pushed out by Edgenuity, and it should be fixed by now. So if you are still having that pop up where students are being told they have to complete one assignment before moving on, I think it's been fixed across the board. If you've still got it, Mike's your guy, and he can help you out with making sure that that update is rolled back.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got just a little bit more time, so let's go back to that. So what I did is we just talked about the course editor, and if you're confused on how to do any of those things, here's where your course editor is for your tiles. And here are 3 videos on how to hide and unhide, how to rearrange, and then a bonus one of how to change your course color if you forgot. So you have these videos in your toolbox, so you can go back and rewatch them as many times as you need. Okay. So let's just briefly talk about the needs grading tab. Now I can't show you this live just because of privacy stuff, But what I've done is I've made a screenshot, and next one. And I've made a video that kind of walks you through navigating the needs grading. And like this one is like, what do I do when it has a rubric on it? So there is a video on how to do that. And I do have a teacher facing video and a student facing video on checking the activity stream so that your students can see their feedback and see when they need to do a retry. And actually, I have another video that I need to add into this. So I'll post that video link in the chat. I have a video that I made on how students can check their grades. So that's kind of a bonus that I'll give you. The activity stream is going to let them know when they get feedback from you and when they have a retake on a test, and it's going to let them know the score they got, but it's also going to show some other stuff in it. So, okay, so our needs grading tab. In the green box on the left-hand side is your list of all of your assignments. You can filter. So the filter button is my friend. If I only want to grade language arts or science assignments, I can filter by just language arts. I can also filter just by one student. So I could type a student's name in here and it's going to show me just the assignments from that student. So that's a neat, I forgot that this is an image and I can't actually scroll down. The filter is great. You can even filter by day if you want to. So if you only want to see assignments that were turned in on Monday, you can put in 8/14 or 9/14 and it'll pop up only the assignments that were turned in on that day. So filter is fabulous. And then in this middle area, you can 50-50 sometimes see a preview of the work that your student has turned in. Other times you can just see a link to it. But what I want to point out is actually the submission history box. So if you were to click on submission history, you can see like how many times your student has attempted to turn this in and how many times you've given it back to them to retry. So I know for my fourth graders, I'll allow a retry on something and then they just turn back in the same thing. So that submission history is great because I can actually get time stamps. Like I can say, okay, I gave this back to you to fix with feedback at 11:29 on Tuesday, and you sent it back to me without any corrections at 11:30 on the same day. And then I sent it back to you, and you sent it back again. So your submission history is a lifesaver to kind of see like, okay, what has my student done, and have I given it back to them? And then on the right-hand side is where you do all of your grading. And so you can automatically give full credit to an assignment. You can give no credit to an assignment. If you clear it, it's just going to clear the score. It's not going to clear any feedback or anything that you've left. The clear button just clears the score that you've given.
Can I pop in a handy hint? Okay, for those of you who have had things hanging out in your needs grading, generally it's because a kid will submit the wrong attachment or no attachment and they click the submit button. And so we try and send it back, allow retry. But it still sits in your needs to be graded box. Very irritating. So the trick is, I've learned this, my poor children, it's harsh, but I give them no credit, 0 points, and allow retry, and then it disappears from my needs to be graded. So it's painful for them because they get a 0 on it, but that's the only way that I found that you can actually get it so it's not sitting in your needs grading pile indefinitely until they get around to sending it back again.
Yeah. And once they turn it back in and it's correct, you just change that 0. So that 0 is not there forever.
Right.
So it's just a 0, allow retry. It moves it from your needs grading box. It sends it back to your student. Now they say, oh man, I got a 0% on that. And I have this funny little arrow that means needs retry. Maybe I should do this. And then when they resubmit it to you, you just change the scope. you just change the score. There'll be a 0 there and you just delete it and put in the score that they got and submit score. And it's like they never even had that 0.
And it automatically updates your grade book and everything.
Yes.
Okay, Audrey, you've got a question.
Okay.
Parents have told her that submissions have a limited amount of pages that can be submitted.
Yes.
How can they submit when their work is more pages than the allowance?
Okay. So that is actually a great question because that is really the end of our presentation. I do want to just remind you, I'm not even going to present this, that on the submitting work tile, you've got a using Adobe, a using Cami and Google Drive, using a photo booth to take a picture, and using a Chromebook camera to take a picture. So these are student and parent facing videos that, if I was in present mode, there's a share button on them or a copy link button. You'll notice here that you can actually grab the link for this video and you can share it with your parents. So all 4 of those videos are shareable. There is a word of caution. Our students on Chromebooks, they don't have the option to use Adobe like this video shows. They can use Cami and they can use their camera, but something is coming. Something is in the works for our students with Chromebooks. But this using Adobe is more geared towards our families who are using personal computers, PCs, or MacBooks. Okay. And then at the end, you have your extra resources. The link to our website. It looks a little bit different now, but it's still the same idea. You can click on this to go to the district website where all of these videos are housed and more. Okay.
Submit more pages.
Submit more pages. I'm like, there was something. Okay, submitting more pages. Let me go into Edgenuity. Now, I will say that this is something that you are going to have to change for every assignment that you want to allow.
Less Edgenuity.
Yes. So if there is something that you would like for your students, let me find something that requires a submission. If there is something that you know your students are going to have multiple pages for. Let's see if I can find something. Okay, here's an assignment. So you find that assignment in Edgenuity. You are going to edit that particular assignment. So you see how I found this one, it says assignment. For our little kids, it's usually like all in like module 2 written work. But those ones are usually pretty good with having multiple submissions. But this one, the reading goals assignment, I'm going to edit this. And now that I'm in edit mode, I want to go up to where it says settings and gradebook and submission. And you'll notice I already have mine set, but you will just change the submission type from single document to multiple documents. And then you'll click save.
Can I give a little pointer for any grade teachers out there? You have to do this for every math module.
Okay.
Just so you guys know, I did at least, and it was discussed at one of our other trainings. So yeah. Heads up on that.
Yeah, like I said, it has to be done, and it's a bummer that there's not a like change this for everything. So.
And Leslie asked, why do some assignments come to her as access denied?
Okay, so that means most likely that your student is using Google Drive to submit their assignment and they have not shared that work with you. So I have taught my students, and I did one-on-one Zooms with those students that were having trouble with it, and I had them share their screen with me or their parent, and I had them open up their Google Drive, and I said, okay, we're gonna make a folder for all of your work to go in, and then you're gonna share that folder with me, and then everything that you do in Edgenuity, everything that you complete in Cami or you put in Google Drive, you need to put in that folder first so that it's shared with me. So that's why you're getting access denied on some of them, is because they haven't shared it with you. So
And if they share a link with you, just like we shared, if they share a link, but their link is restricted, it's just the same as us. We can't share something out with a restricted link. If they're going to share it by just cutting and pasting a link, they have to also do the same thing that we did and open up their share restrictions and put that anybody with the link can do it. Yeah. Or they have to share it with you using a share button and make sure that they share it appropriately that way to your email.
Yes. Okay, so let me get you the KickUp code. If you have downloaded the slide presentation that I'm working through, the KickUp code is on the last slide. But for those of you who haven't made a copy of it, I will put that in Zoom for you. So we are at W. So there's your KickUp code. So let me just really quick, Leslie, go back to that issue. So what I did with my students, I'll show you my drive. Like I said, I met with those students one-on-one and helped them and their parents kind of walk through how to share something with me. And you'll notice that I have a folder here that says shared student folders. And if I click on this, these are all of the students I have that choose to upload their work to Google Drive and then share it with me first. And so you'll notice that I have like little arrows. So these would be in like my shared with me drive because they've just shared them with me. And then I just put them in my drive in a folder. And that way I know when they share something with me, I can not only see it in this folder. So like, here's all of her work. But it guarantees that when she attaches it to her Edgenuity submission, that I'll be able to see it.
And Audrey, can you paste the link to the document again in the chat?
Okay. So it is $4.29. You are free to go. However, if you have any burning questions that you want to ask, I tend to stick around for, another 15 minutes to help you one-on-one with that. Amy sometimes does, but I don't know her schedule tonight.
I'm good today. Yep.
So yeah, we are here to help you. So if you have any questions, the name of the other training is Accommodations and Meeting the Needs of Our Students. However, it has not been scheduled yet for next week. So if you go to KickUp, there you won't find it. Tomorrow, it will be in there. Tomorrow, it will be in there, and you'll be able to find it, and it will be offered 2 times next week. Same time, 3:30 to 4:30.
Still on too. We still are putting together the gradebook training. Yeah. So any questions that you have about gradebook, send them to one of us so we can figure them out before we start getting that training together. Okay, so gradebook questions, send them on in.
Yes. Okay. So that's all I got for you. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording.